Ever since last chapter, the main topic of discussion has been about Mitsuki and Boruto's upcoming fight into Blue Vortex. Last chapter, Mitsuki knocked out Kawaki seemingly off guard with snake venom so he can chase Boruto by himself, and we see him show up to where Boruto is at with Sarada and Sumire and attacks Boruto, making him leave the village to relocate. Mitsuki continued to chase Boruto, so Boruto lands in the woods and says he'll have to be a little rough on Mitsuki, with the chapter ending there and leaving us to wonder how this fight will go. This has also been a hot topic since we haven't gotten a real one-on-one fight in TBV since Boruto vs Code, which was really just a stomp and the Shinju had numbers over Boruto. As a matter of fact, we haven't gotten a 1v1 fight since Boruto vs Kawaki in the Omnipotence arc, but even that fight was extremely short with no conclusion, so if not counting that fight and not counting stomps like Kawaki vs Code, we haven't gotten a real one-on-one fight since Borushiki vs Kawaki. This fight is also long overdue since it was even hinted at in part 1 when Mitsuki attacked Boruto due to Omnipotence, and Mitsuki wasn't able to listen to reason and simply acted out of anger. So I thought it would be a good idea to talk about this fight and why it's even happening in the first place. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a second and ask you guys watching to like the video, comment on some video ideas I can cover in the future, and subscribe and post notifications so you don't miss when I upload another video. I just wanted to say that this video isn't going to be too power scalar heavy, and instead I'm mainly going to be talking about who makes more sense to win based on the narrative and why. This fight for the most part I feel like is going to be Mitsuki's awakening into finding out that Boruto is his real son and finding out that Boruto is really Boruto Uzumaki. One thing we know about Mitsuki is that although he was always loyal to Boruto and had his back no matter what, Mitsuki was always a curious person, especially when it comes to emotions. In part 1, we see Mitsuki talking to Sarada about Boruto, and he says that if things had gone wrong, Boruto would be dead, talking about when Boruto was killed by Kawaki. He says Sasuke is feeling guilty for it, and he is too. Even now when he thinks of Boruto dying without him being able to help, it gives him chills. He says supposing someone would actually kill Boruto, he really doesn't know what he would do to that person. This I feel like is foreshadowing for Mitsuki awakening Sage Mode and fighting for the protection of his son, but it also shows how much Mitsuki cares and how much his whole sun illuminating his moon type of philosophy means to him. Even in that same chapter when he's talking to Sarada about getting strong enough to support Boruto, and she says that she wants to be able to help him more, Mitsuki responds and asks if she likes Boruto, but Sarada dodges the question and asks where did that come from. Mitsuki then asks if that means she doesn't like Boruto, and Sarada says whether she does or doesn't has nothing to do with the conversation as she's trying to be serious. Mitsuki responds saying he wonders if telling your true feelings is something hard for people, and Sarada says that Mitsuki is one to talk since his eyes seem to light up when it comes to Boruto. Not only do I think this scene is planting seeds for Mitsuki to be able to tell Boruto isn't the outsider everybody's portraying and that Boruto is his true son, but Mitsuki and Sarada's entire conversation just shows how emotionally driven Mitsuki is and also how curious he is about Sarada's true emotions. Sarada says Mitsuki's eyes light up when he sees Boruto, and we know that shinobi can come to a better understanding by clashing their fists, like when Sasuke says this to Naruto in their first fight at the Final Valley. So when Mitsuki and Boruto fight, I expect Boruto's feelings and desires to reach Mitsuki, making Mitsuki realize he's been wrong about Boruto all these years. I also feel like this is Boruto's chance to show people new memories instead of trying to get them to remember things that never happened in their head, like Ada said. Ada told Sarada and Sumire that they should give up on trying to turn things back to the way they were, since even if Sarada and Sumire can show them things and tell them as much as they want that Boruto is actually Boruto Uzumaki, they'll continue to believe their own memories and even start to think that Sarada and Sumire are the ones that's crazy. In this fight, Boruto will have to show Mitsuki signs to wake him up and realize the truth, instead of just telling him that he has it all wrong. Boruto will show Mitsuki the way in order to slowly get back what is his and reclaim his life from Kawaki. I wanted to talk about some things we could expect to see from this chapter besides what I just talked about for the most part. I don't expect this to be a quiet fight, meaning I don't expect these two to fight without talking to each other in some type of way. I expect Mitsuki to be asking Boruto questions about what happened to Naruto or why Boruto allegedly killed him. I don't know if I think Boruto is going to answer about Naruto though, since it seems Boruto wants to keep that a secret from people in the village, because if it got out that Naruto isn't dead and that Kawaki was lying the whole time, the leaf will likely and quickly turn on Kawaki, which Boruto wouldn't want because he wants to turn his and Kawaki's battle into a quarrel between siblings, so it makes sense that he wants Kawaki to be safe even though he has every reason to hate Kawaki for what he did. Although I think Boruto will wake Mitsuki up to the truth this chapter, I don't know what it is that Boruto will do or say to make that happen. As I said, there is the possibility that Mitsuki will understand Boruto through exchanging fists, but what if that's just not enough for Mitsuki? Boruto will have to be smart in how he goes about this fight because Mitsuki seems very on edge and not willing to listen listen to reason. So Boruto would have to find a way to make Mitsuki listen, which would make sense as to why Boruto said he'll have to get a little rough with Mitsuki. Maybe by subduing him so he can't fight back anymore and then making him listen, or maybe Boruto and Mitsuki have a special connection or a special code in their friendship that only they know. This part of the video is going to be spoiler heavy on the new chapter, so if you don't want to be spoiled, now's your time to click off the video. So we actually do learn that Boruto was able to make Mitsuki listen, and it was through battling him and pushing him into a corner to make Mitsuki give up. I still want to wait for full translations because at the time I'm recording this video, we don't have any official translations and only some rough translations from people who claim to know Japanese. But assuming that they're correct, it seems like Mitsuki knew he wasn't going to win against Boruto and understood that Boruto is in a different class than him, but still tried to fight since he wanted to protect who he thinks is his son. I'm not going to talk about everything in this chapter, I'll wait to give my full thoughts when the chapter comes out, but Mitsuki also said something around the lines of there were other reasons why he came alone. My guess is that he already sensed that Kawaki is not his son, which was even foreshadowed in chapter 1 of TBV when he questions if Kawaki is the sun shining brightly on his moon after Kawaki leaves to go deal with Cold's claw marks. If this is true, this means Mitsuki mainly came to get the answers for himself, and like I said earlier in the video, when two shinobis are strong enough, they can understand each other by just clashing their fists. It also makes sense that they would make up this way because of how emotionally driven Mitsuki is. He was always going to be hard-headed when it came to listening to reason in this situation. But Boruto seemed to be able to get him to listen and hear him out while showing him mercy and giving Mitsuki a new memory where he was at the mercy of his enemy who he thinks is a bad person but gets spared and talked to like a human being. This also goes to show Boruto's maturity continuing to grow. He's taking on a lot but continuously pushes forward and doesn't stray away from his ideals. Even while being accused of things he didn't do and the misplaced hatred he gets, he still shows Mitsuki who he really is and lets him decide for himself. This is the difference between Boruto and Kawaki, the difference between who's Mitsuki's son and who's not. Where Kawaki would push Mitsuki away, finding Mitsuki's obsession with his son to be weird and creepy, Boruto will embrace Mitsuki, show him compassion, and make him feel as if he belongs without diminishing or trying to bring down who Mitsuki is and who he can't help to be. Boruto is always going to be the light shining upon his moon because no matter what happens, Boruto will always be Boruto, somebody with a bright personality but also not pushy and demanding. Whereas Kawaki is too dark, rude, and just not suited to brighten up other people. Kawaki was never taught ideals from the time he was a boy, thus becoming a damaged teenager who didn't know how to accept love and got obsessed over that love and affection. So much so that it drove him crazy. But Boruto isn't like this. He might be damaged but not damaged enough to break the foundation of who he originally is, and as a ninja who aims to be like Sasuke or a Shadow Hokage, takes on all the hatred because he's the only one that can handle it. This is why Boruto vs Mitsuki happened, and this is how Mitsuki will break free from omnipotence. But that's all I have for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment on some video ideas I can cover in the future. Until next time.